everyone, it's Amber, and today I'm going to be talking about the series that sadly I feel like I have either grown out of or I just have lost interest in, so I don't think I'm going to be finishing them. Now, not to say that this couldn't be changed. If this is like your favorite series or if you really like it, I definitely want to hear you guys' thoughts on if I should finish them or not, because these are series that have been kind of sitting on my shelves unfinished for a very long time, so I'm not sure if I'm ever going to have the same interest in them again that I did when I first bought them. So the first series that I'm not going to be finishing isn't really a series, it's a extension of the series, and that is For a Divergent Collection. And when I first picked this up, I was very excited about it, and now I really have no interest in reading this. I don't really like For as a character, if I'm being honest, and I wasn't a big fan of the end of the Divergent series, which is very sad because I really loved the first book and I remember how much I was into that book. So I'm definitely not going to be reading this. I really don't like For, and I don't really have any interest in continuing on with the series at all. So sadly, this is one of the books that I will not be finishing. The next series that I will not be finishing is one that I'm pretty sure about, but I'm not 100% on. So this one I could be convinced to continue on, but from what I've heard, most people don't like the second half of the series, and that is Maximum Ride by James Patterson. I was very obsessed with this series. I read it in 7th grade, I believe, and I read the first 4, I think. And I really loved them, especially the first 3, but once I got to the 4th one and I started the 5th one, I wasn't as into it anymore. I still do really love and appreciate these characters, but I don't really want to taint my enjoyment of the series by continuing on, because I've heard that the last couple books are not very good and they're not a good representation of the series, and this is such a great series. The first 3 books were amazing and I love this series, so I really don't want to finish it and ruin the way I view it, because I enjoy the series to the point where I read it, and I don't think I need to continue on with it because I enjoy where it ended. Next one is Matched by Ali Condi. I adored this first book when I read it, and then I read the second one and it was okay, and that was back at a time in my life where I pretty much enjoyed every single book I read. The second book was so slow that it just made me not want to continue on with the series. I really loved the first book, and I'm just gonna enjoy that and just not continue on with the rest of it. The next book series that I'm not planning on finishing is the Shiver series by Maggie Stiefvater. I did not like this book. It had insta-love in it, which was not my favorite thing, and I read this, I think I was in 8th grade when I read this, and I really did not like it very much. I could be convinced to go back because maybe revisiting it would make me like it and see something different in it, because I really enjoy the Raven Boys and I love Maggie Stiefvater's writing style, so maybe I would enjoy this now that I'm reading the Raven Boys series, but maybe I'd give this another shot, but I don't really think so. So I don't really know. The next series that I'm not planning on finishing is the Unearthly series by Cynthia Hand. I didn't even finish this first book, but I did really enjoy it when I was reading it, but I just feel like I've outgrown this series at this point. I don't really remember what it was about, and I don't really remember the characters or anything, and I haven't really had a desire to go back to it since I started reading it, and I never finished it. Although I did enjoy what I did read of it, I really don't have any interest in it now, so I'm not going to force myself to go back and read it. The next series that I'm not planning on finishing is the Forest of Hands and Teeth series by Carrie Ryan. I read this first one when I was in 8th grade, and I loved this book actually. I really enjoyed this, and I didn't expect it to be this, but it was about zombies, which was really cool, and I'd never read anything like that. So I really loved this book, and I flew through it, and I have the other books in the series, and I might end up reading them, but as of now, I have other books that I'm more interested in than those, and this story wrapped up, and each book is about a different character and follows a different story. So this was basically like a standalone, but there are other books about other characters, and I really enjoyed this one, and I feel that the story was wrapped up here. So I don't think I'm going to continue on with this as of now just because I'm interested in other things more than I am in this, but I did really like this. Next series that I am not planning on finishing is the Delirium series by Lauren Oliver. I have a couple reasons for this. Number one, I never finished this book and I really lost interest in it. I got pretty far through it, but I just don't see myself finishing this. I read this a long time ago. I think I was in like 8th grade when I read this, and I liked it, but I didn't love it, and I'm not going to force myself to go back and read it when I'm not really that interested in it. I've also heard that the last book of the series does not end the way that people wanted it to, and it's not a good concluding novel. I don't really want to end this series off on a bad note. Also, I have read other books by Lauren Oliver, and I could not get through. I have yet to get through a Lauren Oliver book, and that's not to say that she's not a good author, because I'm sure that many people enjoy a lot of her books, but for some reason her writing style just does not work with me, and I really haven't been able to finish any of the books that she's written. Probably great stories, but I just have not been able to get into it, and I don't know what it is about it, but I've read a couple of her other books but just haven't been able to finish. The next series that I'm not going to be finishing isn't a series, it's an author that I really am not interested in reading any more books from anymore, and this one might be a bit controversial because I know a lot of people love this author, but that is John Green, and I have paper towns here. I've read The Fault in Our Stars and I've read Looking for Alaska, and I really did not like either of them very much. I did like The Fault in Our Stars, but I didn't love it as much as I thought that I would, and I really didn't like Looking for Alaska, so I'm really not interested in reading any more John Green books. I don't really read much contemporary, so that's one of the reasons, and another reason is I just don't really like the writing style and like the characters and stuff that John Green writes very much, and I'm just really not interested in reading any more of his books. So the next two are ones that I, as of now, am not really interested in finishing, but I could be convinced very easily to finish them. I just have forgotten what happened and lost interest, and I really liked both of these first books, but I just don't really know if I'm going to finish the series because I don't really remember a lot of it, and I just have kind of lost interest in the characters and stuff. But if you really like the other books in the series, definitely let me know because I could easily be convinced to pick these books up again. The first one of those being The Young Elites by Marie Lu. I enjoyed this first book, and I remember really liking the story and the characters, but I wasn't very attached to any of them, and I don't really have too much interest in continuing on because I kind of feel like it wrapped up in this book and I didn't really need any more. But like I said, if you really like the rest of the series, then I would think about and consider picking it up again. And the last and final book on my list is the one that probably I could very easily be convinced to finish this series, mostly because I forgot what happened in the other books and I really don't want to reread them for some reason, and that is the Fifth Wave series by Rick Yancey. And this is very sad to me because I really loved the first book, and then the second book wasn't really as good as the first book, and then the third book came out and I wasn't too excited for it, and I felt like I waited a really long time for it to come out for some reason, and then I just forgot about it. And I completely forgot what happened in the second book. So, and I remember what happened in this one. I just don't remember anything that happened in the second book for some reason. So I am losing interest in the series and the characters, and I love this first book, and I would definitely recommend reading this first book because it's very good. And I remember flying through this and I really enjoyed this. But the second book wasn't as good, and it just kind of my interest in the series has like just been going down, and I don't have much interest in reading the last book, but I do want to wrap up this series and I want to see how it ends. So I might end up picking up the last book, but I just don't really know at the moment, and I'm not gonna do it anytime soon. So those are all the series that I'm not planning on finishing in the near future. Definitely let me know if you really loved any of these series, because I'd love to hear you guys' opinions on them and possibly be able to pick some of them up again. But some of them I've already kind of decided that I'm happy where I left off in the story and I don't really want to read anymore. So if any of these are your absolute favorite book, you are definitely entitled to your own opinion, and me not liking them in no way means that you can't like them, because everyone has different opinions and different tastes in books, and these were just some of the books that I am just not feeling so much anymore. That is about it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to give it a thumbs up, and you can also subscribe down below if you want to see more of my videos, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!
Lay your love on mine, lay your love on mine, let your say